Today, I'm ranking every single boss in Fortnite history, from the very worst one all the way up to the best. And the worst boss of all time has got to be number 66, the Predator. Predator has 999 health, and the item you get from defeating this boss is very much useless. It was the Cloak Mythic Gauntlet device. You pretty much got nothing from defeating him. He also had a lot of health and was kind of annoying to fight. He was also on the edge of the Chapter 2 map in a POI that not a lot of people landed at anyways because it was kind of awkward to fight in. And by the way, I'm rating these bosses based on the items that you get and how iconic they are and how game-changing they are once you defeat them. I'm sure I might have forgotten a few of them, but there are a ton to go through, so let's jump to number 65. It's the Huntsman Saber. This guy has 1500 health and he gives you the Huntsman Saber thermal rifle, which is basically a thermal DMR. And in my opinion, DMRs, most of them kind of suck, this one included. You did not get a key card for defeating this boss, so it's just a terrible mythic item. At number 64, we have the Spire Guardians. At least they didn't have that much health. They only had 550 health, and they only dropped an epic primal rifle and a rune stone. I don't even remember what the rune stones were for. It might have been a crafting thing, but yeah, this boss was not worth defeating. Number 63, it's the Raptor, which has 800 health, Chapter 2, Season 6. The C-Day skin used to be a boss. This might be the most forgettable boss on this list, and all he did was drop a primal shotgun and a grenade. At number 62, we have Billy, who is Jigsaw. Very fun update with a cool POI, but all he gave you was the Boom Billy, a random epic or legendary item, and a Flowberry Fizz and a big pot. It's fine. It's definitely worth picking up the heals and the items once you eliminated him, but it's not something you would go out of your way to go do. At number 61, we have the Ultima Carver, which had 800 health in solos. This was exclusive to Fort Nightmares. It dropped the pumpkin launcher, the wood stake shotgun, the Flowberry Fizz. There was definitely some solid loot, but nothing actually worth dropping for at that POI. At number 60, we have Krampus, who had 750 health, and this dude drops a rare chest. That's all. Like, it's just like a rare chest that you could find anywhere else on the map, but it's not bad, but we can't give him a higher rating than this. At number 59, we have Zig and Choppy, who had 1500 health and dropped the Zig and Choppy's ray gun. Pretty much another useless mythic item, and there was really no reason to ever really fight this boss unless you really wanted the ray gun for whatever reason. At number 58, we have Deadpool, who only had 500 health, but also dropped some pretty useless mythics. The Deadpool dual hand cannons, which were very awful, very bad to use. The only good thing about defeating him, though, is he did drop the yacht key card, but landing at the yacht was also kind of a commitment because it was on the edge of the map and it was almost always in the storm. At 57, we have Ares, who had 900 health in solos, and he dropped the Ares Warforged Assault Rifle, which was decent. And he also dropped the Aspect of Combat Medallion, which gave you like a 1% damage boost. That was pretty useless. If his medallion was better, he would probably be way higher on this list. At 56, we have Raz, who had 2,500 health. He was in Chapter 2, Season 6, and he dropped the Raz's Explosive Bow, which was solid, but it wasn't too crazy. At 55, we have Zeus, who had 1,700 health in solos. And I'm gonna be honest, bro. Every time you went to go defeat Zeus, you were getting third party. That fight took so long. He had like multiple stages. He drops the Zeus Huntress DMR, which again, a bad DMR. The Thunderbolt of Zeus, which was good, but you could find the Thunderbolt of Zeus in other places. Aspect of Speed, which was a decent medallion, and a Flowberry Fizz. But yeah, you were getting third partied any single time you were fighting Zeus during that season. At 54, we have Relic, who had 1,300 health, and he dropped the Relic MK Alpha Assault Rifle. It's not as good as the MK7 that the Foundation dropped, but it was still pretty good. He also dropped the Wild Guard Relic's Cloak's Gauntlet, which, again, another useless invisibility item, and Wild Wasp Jar, which was even somehow more useless than the Gauntlet. Kind of crazy, but the MK Alpha definitely was carrying in terms of loot that this boss gave. At 53, we have Cube Assassin, which had 2,000 HP. You had to fight them in the sideways, like little areas. And he either dropped a Mythic Sideways Rifle or a Mythic Sideways Minigun. It took a long time to defeat this boss. You had to fight multiple phases of mobs. And you only get one Mythic. And you're probably going to get third partied. And even the Mythic you got, the Sideways Minigun and the Sideways Rifle, they're not that great. Now we're moving on from bad bosses to mid bosses. That mid boss 52, we have the Mandalorian. 700 health, not too bad. He dropped the Ambin sniper rifle, which was pretty good, especially in a season that didn't have a lot of snipers. The Mandalorian jetpack, which was also okay. It was definitely fun to use the sniper, but overall, like the sniper and the jetpack weren't too OP. But this boss was in the middle of the map and he was in an area that you could go out of your way to go defeat him. So not too bad. At 51, we have Scorpion, who had 1200 health, and he gave you the Scorpion's combat kit, which was extremely fun to use. And he also gave you the explosive ammo medallion, which was a very, very useful medallion, especially with the mammoth pistol. At number 50, we have Sergeant Winter, who had 600 health, and he gives presents which drop rare Ranger assault rifles and coal if killed. So it was fun to kill him and then drive around the map with his car for the memes, but honestly, defeating him was not that useful. The fact that he throws presents, though, is pretty fire. At number 49, we have the Inquisitor, who had 1200 health and was also exclusive to Fort Nightmares. He dropped the Inquisitor's SMG, which was fine, but for a mythic, it's pretty bad. The pumpkin launcher and a firefly jar. Not very memorable. At number 48, we have the Club's Dealers, who had 500 health. This was a roaming boss in 3 different locations. He dropped the Combat SMG and either the Ruins Vault keycard, Slappy Shores Vault keycard, or the Mega City Vault keycard. So you get a pretty solid item and you get a good keycard, and they only had 500 health, so they were easy to defeat. Not too bad. At 47, we have Captain Phasma. Captain Phasma's F11D blaster rifle, which was really good for putting on pressure. The Phasma blaster medallion, which is pretty bad and almost does nothing. And no keycard. I feel like if there was a keycard at that POI, the spots would be much higher on this list. 46, we have the Spire Assassin, 950 health. Originally, Spire Assassin dropped the Primal Shotgun. They later changed it to the Spire Assassin Recycler. The Mythic Primal Shotgun was actually very strong. And once they changed it to be the Recycler, which is pretty much just a meme item, this boss dropped down the list pretty hard. At 45, we have Diamond's Dealer. So Diamond's Dealer dropped the Diamond's Thermal DMR, a suppressed pistol, and a Sweet's Vault keycard. So bad DMR, but at least you also got a keycard, which could guarantee you some loot. At 44, we have a Wolverine. So he was actually very difficult to defeat because he could revive himself, which made him just like insane. Like he was actually kind of scary to run into. But you did get the Wolverine claws, which were okay. They weren't the best mythic that season. There was no keycard though, but yeah, the mythic claws were okay. I think the reason why he's not lower on this list is because he was kind of, hard to fight and he had aura. At 43, we have Aurelia. 1300 health, and she dropped the Spire Guardian's Primal Assault Rifle, which is a pretty solid AR, but overall she's kind of forgettable. At 42, we have High Card, who also dropped the High Card's Havoc Suppressed Rifle, which is a mid mythic, but he also dropped the Retreat Vault key card, which gave you access to a vault, which is pretty good. Same thing with number 41, the Hearts Dealer, also dropped the Hearts Havoc Suppressed Rifle, pretty much the same gun, and a key card. At number 40, we have Mysterio. So Mysterio dropped the Mysterio Sovereign Shotgun, which was a very underrated shotgun in my opinion. And he also dropped the Mysterio Stealth Medallion, which was kind of a joke, but it ended up becoming useful in tournaments later on once people discovered the meta. So it kind of has a little bit of sauce to it. At 39, we have Dr. Sloan, 1000 health, and she also had clones, which had 300 health. But if you were good, you can kind of avoid the clones and just attack her. She's been a boss in like a lot of seasons, but she did drop the Sloan's Pulse Rifle in season 7 and Recon Scanner, which was insane. She also dropped the Sloan's Burst Assault Rifle and Recon Scanner in chapter 2 season 8, which was also insane, probably even better. And then she also dropped the Sloan's Burst Assault Rifle in chapter 3 season 2. So in every single season that she was a boss, she dropped some pretty good loot. So shout out to Dr. Sloan. At number 38, we have Shadow Midas. So he only dropped the Shadow Midas drum gun, which was a downgrade from the regular Midas drum gun. And I'm pretty sure there was no vault key card associated with it either. So we can't put him higher on this list. But next up, we have the good bosses. And it starts at number 37, Kato Thorn. So Kato Thorn dropped the Thorn Scoped Burst SMG. It was pretty good, but it wasn't too crazy. But he also dropped the Estate Vault keycard, which was one of the best vaults in the game. At 36, we have Caretaker, who had 10,000 health. It took so long to defeat this thing. You get third-partied every single time. But he did drop 5 legendary weapons, healing items, and so many cube monster parts to upgrade your weapons. It's a very unique boss, and I'm glad they tried something new with this, but nobody was really looking forward to fighting the Caretaker with 10,000 HP every single game. At number 35, we have the Gorgers, and this happened in Chapter 2, Season 4. It dropped 3 purple weapons, a bunch of heals, a gold RPG. It was a fun boss fight, and you can even use its little drones as a secret weapon, which was also really fun. At 34, we have the Herald, who had 1200 HP and dropped the Herald's Burst Rifle. It was pretty underrated because it shot 4 times, which applied a lot of pressure for a burst. There was no key card. However, he did give you chrome splashes. At 33, you have Shogun X, 5,000 health in solos. This guy has dropped a lot of different things. It's always worth eliminating him, even though he has a lot of health and you do get third partied, but at least you're on top of the floating island. But he dropped the enhanced DL44 blaster rifle in this season. He also has dropped the super shield medallion and Chug Jug. And when he first came out in Chapter 6 Season 1, he would drop the mythic fire Oni mask and the Typhoon blade and the Shogun X medallion. The Shogun X medallion is probably one of the best medallions ever. So he has some good stuff going for him. He's definitely a decent boss that's worth fighting. At 32, we have both TNTina and Dynamo TNTina. Pretty much the same, but TNTina had 500 health and Dynamo TNTina had 1,000 health. You got the TNTina's Kaboom Bow, which was sometimes really good, but also sometimes very useless. It was pretty much hit or miss, but you also got the Rig key card, which guaranteed you a lot of great loot. At 31, we have Gunner, who dropped the Gunner Stinger SMG, which was very strong, but it had a lot of recoil. But he also gave you the Covert Cavern key card, which guaranteed you a ton of loot. At 30, we have Fletcher Kane, 1,000 health in solos. He dropped the Baron's Double Down Pistol, which is the Mythic Mammoth, which is insane, really good gun, and the Unstoppable Medallion, which was pretty decent, but not as good as some of the other medallions on this list. At 29, we have Hades, who had 900 health, and he dropped the Hades Harbinger SMG, which was solid, but not too powerful. He also dropped the Chains of Hades, and initially this was kind of useless, but then people figured out how to actually use these to hit people through walls, and they became very powerful. He also dropped Aspect of Siphon, which was insanely clutch, especially in tournaments. At number 28, we have the Night Rose and the Puppeteer, 1,200 health in solos. And she dropped the Night Rose Veiled Precision SMG, which is a pretty solid mythic. The Night Rose Void Oni Mask, which was a mythic version of the Oni Mask that had 50 charges, which was insane. And the Night Rose Medallion, where weapons automatically reload, which was okay, but pretty forgettable. At number 27, we have OG Chapter 2 Doctor Doom. He had 500 health, and he gave you the Doctor Doom Arcane Gauntlet, which were good. The Mystical Bomb as well, which was also good, and the Doctor Doom key card, which was very solid, gave you a lot of loot. And he was in Pleasant Park, which is a pretty iconic POI. The only reason he's not higher on this list is because the other mythics this season were probably stronger. At number 26, we have Meowtis, who had 1,000 health, and Meowscles, who had 500 health. Meowtis dropped the Pew Pew rifle, which was surprisingly really good, and the Yacht key card, which was okay at best because you had to go all the way up to the yacht and it's kind of out of the way. So yeah. At number 25, we have Snoop Dogg. Yes, Snoop Dogg was a boss, if you guys don't remember. Snoop Dogg's drum gun, which was very, very good. And he dropped the agency key card, but the agency vault was a little bit nerfed. It wasn't as good. At number 24, we have Ocean, who had 500 health and dropped the Ocean's Burst Assault Rifle, which is one of the strongest bursts that season and in that chapter. She also dropped the Ocean's Bottomless Chug Jug. Good, but kind of clunky nowadays when you think about how fast the heals are, because you have to go through a full 15-second animation to get the heals, which is not as ideal. And you got the Fortilla key card, which gave you some decent loot. All right, now it's time for the really good bosses. At number 23, we have Darth Vader, 500 health. He drops the Sith Apprentice lightsaber with Force Jump and Force Saber Throw, and you also get the Darth Vader AI, which is one of the best updates they've ever done. We have to throw him in here. You get a solid amount of stuff. His lightsaber is pretty good. Very useful as a hired boss, actually. There's a lot of the secrets coming out about him, knowing where the zone is, knowing where players are. Very, very useful, very underrated. Also just very fun to have on your team. Being able to talk to an AI while playing a Fortnite match is pretty insane. Number 22, we have Jules, who had 500 health, and she's definitely a good boss. She drops the Jules drum gun, which is a little bit of a nerfed version of the Midas drum gun. She also gave you the Jules glider gun, which was really good in reload with the animation cancel, but back in chapter 2, it's kind of just okay. And she gave you the Authority key card, which was also just okay loot. And for the next set of bosses, number 21, 20, 19, 18, and 17, I am going to bunch up all of the Chapter 5 Season 1 bosses. 21, we have Montague, 1,400 health, gave you the Mythic Nemesis AR, Shockwave Grenade, and the Medallion. All the medallions were pretty much the same, but you also got the key card. Number 20, we have Nisha, 1400 health. Nisha Striker AR, probably better than the Nemesis AR, easily. Also dropped an Epic Hammer shotgun. Kind of goated that she dropped an Epic Hammer. And her medallion. Number 19, we have Peter Griffin. A little overrated, but he also dropped the Peter Griffin Mythic Pump shotgun. Could hit for 199.8. And the medallion and the key card. At number 18, we have Valeria, 1400 health. She gave you the Valeria Hyper SMG, which is really good. And a Firefly jar and her medallion. Number 17, we have Oscar. He gave the Oscar Frenzy Auto Shotgun. Extremely strong, one of the strongest shotguns in the game. Clicks absolutely destroyed with it. It eventually got nerfed, but it was still very good. And you got his medallion and the key card. But there's a boss from that chapter that does even better than them. And that's number 16. We have Emma Frost. 1000 health in solos. She dropped the Emma Frost Reveal Medallion, which is one of the strongest medallions in the game. Helped Peterbot and Poyo win every single Cash Cup and the FNCS and the Globals. She also dropped the Emma Frost Striker Burst AR and a Flowberry Fizz. And her Burst AR was also extremely good. Easily one of the best bosses in terms of giving you the best loot to win the game. At 15, we have Doombot. 1600 health in solos. Really good boss. Gives Siphon. Also gives you Doom's Mystical Bomb and Gauntlets in one item. The pistol was also very, very good. Doombot's Siphon Medallion and a Flowberry Fizz. A very solid boss that once you defeat him, you are set up to win the game. At number 14, we have the Ageless Champion, 1500 health. He gave you the Ageless Champion's Excalibur Rifle. Excalibur Rifle is one of my favorite weapons in Fortnite, very underrated. And you got the Champion Shockwave Hammer, which had 5 charges. And initially, the regular Shockwave Hammers had 4 charges, but they got nerfed down to 3. But the Mythic Shockwave Hammer kept its 5 charges, making it even stronger than the regular ones. Next up, I'm grouping up the Chapter 5 Season 3 bosses. At 13, we have Megalodon. You got the Megalodon Nitro Fist, really strong mythic item. The Combat Shotgun, which was kind of terrible. His medallion also gave you the permanent sprint and knockback, basically full-on Nitro. He also dropped Nitro Splashes, Flowberry Fizz, and his vehicle. At number 12, we have Ringmaster Scar. Same thing here. You got the Ringmaster Boom Bolt, the Ringmaster Scar Medallion, which gave you infinite ammo, which made a very good combination with the Boom Bolt and the infinite ammo. And you also got the Ringmaster Scar's car. Number 11, we have the Machinist, and she gave the Machinist Modular Combat Assault Rifle, probably the strongest assault rifle in that season, and the Machinist Medallion, which regenerates your shield up to 75 shield infinitely, and a Flowberry Fizz and Nitro Splashes, and her vehicle. And for our top 10, at number 10, yes, why not Ice Spice at number 10? She gave you the Ice Spice rifle, which was very strong. It was like a mythic scar, but also gave you the pepper effect. And the Ice Spice grappler, which it was kind of mid. The grappler was kind of mid because you got the icy feet and you're sliding around, but it made for some cool plays. And you also got the Shark key card, which is solid loot. At number 9, we have the Commanding Guards. These are the Forecast Tower bosses, 500 health. And this one's going to be a sleeper pick, but hear me out. You get the Twin Mag Assault Rifle, which is a very strong gun. You get the Forecaster Tower Axis, incredibly useful. You know where all the future storms are, which gives you an insane positional advantage, and a legendary Slurp Juice, which is the best healing item in the entire game. And you got it from defeating this boss. Pretty damn good. At number 8, we have Revenant Kato Thorn, who was exclusive to Fort Nightmares. He dropped Thorn's Vampiric Blade, which is like a mythic kinetic blade, absolutely insane. And it also had a siphon effect. He also dropped the Midas Drum Gun, which was a mid version, but still pretty good. I mean, this is a very cool boss, a lot of aura, and some pretty powerful weapons. But he didn't give a key card, so he can't be one of the greatest bosses. But now we move on to the greatest bosses in Fortnite history. And we got to start at number 7 with Cerberus. 1300 health in solos. And he gave you the Mythic Cerberus Shotgun, the best shotgun ever. And he also gave you the Dash Medallion, which is extremely strong, permanently regenerating those green skulls so you can just keep dashing after your opponents or dashing away from people. And he dropped the Flowberry Fizz. It helped Peterbot and Poyo win an entire FNCS and go flawless in the Cash Cups. At number 6, we have Brutus. 500 health. We'll also throw in Eminem to be tied with Brutus because they both do the same thing. You got to pay some respects to the goated bosses. Brutus's minigun is extremely strong, and the Eminem version was also very strong, but you also had the song playing, which is kind of iconic. The Grotto key card is obviously very strong, one of the strongest vaults in Fortnite. Peterbot was dropping here instead of dropping the Agency during this season just for the minigun, which was famously used by Kanata to just destroy other pro players. Even in normal games, this thing was way too good. At number 5, we have the Foundation. 2600 health. He was kind of tough to fight. Highest HP of all the Fortnite bosses. I'm sure The Rock put that in his contract that he has to have the most amount of HP. But he was worth fighting because he gave you one of, if not the best assault rifles of all time. The Foundation's MK7 assault rifle. This thing had no bloom, no recoil, extremely high fire rate. He didn't have a key card, so he can't be higher, but that weapon was just way too good not to put him at number 5. At number 4, we have Kits. Yes, 500 health, extremely good boss, and gave you one of the best combinations ever. The Kit's Mythic Charged Shotgun, which could hit for over 200 headshot, and the Kit's Mythic Shockwave Launcher. Great mobility, great damage, and on top of that, you got the Caddy Corner key card for some extra loot. At number 3, we have Sky, 500 health. And this is an all-time goated combo. You get the Vault keycard, which gives you a ton of loot, but you also get the Mythic Scar, which has a nasty high fire rate, and the Infinite Grappler, which solves your mobility issues permanently for the rest of the match. Mythic Assault Rifle, permanent. Infinite Grappler, and a keycard. You cannot go wrong with Sky. At number 2, we have Midas. You got to pay some respects to a legend. 500 health. He put bosses on the map. He's one of the first bosses. That was the season where they introduced bosses and he was the main guy. The OG Midas drum gun was an absolute terror to go against, especially if you're on controller. One of the best mythics ever. And the agency key card, which gave you some pretty solid loot. But who's number 1? Who's number 1 on this list? Number 1 has to be Iron Man. Best boss of all time. He gave you 2 extremely strong mythics and one of the best mythics ever, which was the Unibeam. He also gave you access to a vault with an insane amount of start chests, almost guaranteeing that you're going to have a gold or purple shotgun, all the shields you need. So if you took down Iron Man, you were getting insane loot. The Iron Man Unibeam, the Iron Man Repulsor Gauntlets, the Iron Man Keycard, you're getting mythic and legendary shotguns easily, and that is why he is number 1. We have some honorable mentions like the Void Demon Warrior, the Wind Demon Warriors, Fire Demon Warriors, Massive Dr. Doom as well, which is part of the live event. But I didn't feel like they fit into the ranking of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.